last half hour again, Mike Tomlin stepping down as the Pittsburgh Steelers head coach. Look, I don't know that I have this authority, but I would love to invite Mike Tomlin to come work at ESPN. We have a Super Bowl next year, so there's going to be plenty of work for him if he does want to go into television. The man who knows television well, Stephen A. Smith, joining me as Mike Tomlin steps down, 19 seasons, Pittsburgh Steelers head coach, 1 Super Bowl in there, now 2 Super Bowl coaches on the market, and John Harbaugh and Mike Tomlin. So, Stephen A., just big picture, your reaction to the news breaking within the last half hour that Mike Tomlin is out as the Pittsburgh Steelers head coach.
I'm not surprised. It's hard, but in the end, you saw it coming. As great as he's been, he's a Super Bowl champion. He's a leader of men, incredibly respected and revered. In the end, what it comes down to is the fact that he is a man that hasn't won a playoff game since 2016. They've lost their last 7 playoff games. They were outscored 73-0 in the previous 6 in the first quarter. They've trailed by over 21 points in every single playoff game over that time period. So it gives the impression that they weren't really a team that belonged in the playoffs, even though they got there. So you look at the situation and the circumstances and you say, hey, you know what, as a team, it is what it is. The Steelers are good. They're not great. They're right in the middle, which means that you don't stink enough to really get a high draft pick and build from that regard, and you're not great enough to legitimately compete for a championship. That's the worst place to be in. And finally, Steelers fans had started chanting for his, departure. And Mike Tomlin's a prideful man that knows what he's about and knows what he's accomplished. And if folks don't want him bad enough, he thought it was time for him to go. So I respect his decision.
And Stephen A., he's a top-flight coach now. And you heard Adam Schefter say it a moment ago, maybe this is a domino effect. Maybe some other owners are taking notice and say, well, wait a second, Mike Tomlin's on the market, John Harbaugh's on the market.
Right.
There's some really good coaches out there. I would imagine there would be teams lined up, if they have a vacancy or not, to bring in Mike Tomlin.
Yeah, you would imagine so, because if you give him a quarterback, he can do some things. The reality is he really didn't have a quarterback since Ben Roethlisberger departed. The Russell Wilsons, the Justin Fields, the Mason Rudolphs, the Mitchell Trubisky's, people like that, that wasn't going to cut it. So Mike Tomlin knew that. So the next destination needs to definitely be somebody that has a quarterback, no doubt about it.
How do you view the Pittsburgh Steelers organization as a whole?
At this point in time, mediocre. I think that's their biggest problem. Their biggest problem wasn't coaching. I think their biggest problem was organizationally, because they're not what they needed to be. I've got to get ready to run.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
I've got to get ready to run, but I would tell you the next coach, Mike McDonald, Liam Cohen, they need to find that guy just like they found their Mike Tomlin. That's what they need to do. This would only be their 4th coach since 1969. So we'll see what they do.
You wonder, too, Stephen A. Smith making some time for us on a busy day, you wonder, too, what kind of move the Pittsburgh Steelers are willing to make, what kind of coach they bring in. Are they going to bring in a guy that's got NFL head coaching experience? There's a guy like Robert Saleh sitting out there. He went back to San Francisco after being with a franchise like the New York Jets. There are so many names that could be dropped for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the one thing that they know, we talked about it with Adam Schefter, with Dan Graziano, with Jeff Saturday, the one thing you know in Pittsburgh, you were going to get time to develop the franchise. He was given 19 years. He rewarded him with the Super Bowl. So much to get to. The breaking news this afternoon here. Digest this for a minute. The breaking news coming into SportsCenter, according to our Adam Schefter, Mike Tomlin, after 19 seasons, stepping down as the Pittsburgh Steelers head coach. We saw it with John Harbaugh last week after 18 seasons. Saturday, we were just speculating about this seconds ago. Your reaction now that it's final, Mike Tomlin out as Steelers head coach?
Yeah, I think it makes sense. I mean, listen, the fatigue for Mike Tomlin has to be enormous. I mean, here's a guy who has made the playoffs and never had a losing record. I mean, the guy understands winning, but unfortunately in the playoffs, it just hasn't materialized. And the fans have become restless. I mean, you heard it, week after week, and even firing offensive coordinators a couple of years ago, like, at some point, things just run its course. And whether that was Bill Belichick or whether that was Andy Reid in Philadelphia, John Harbaugh just recently there in Baltimore. Great coaches, just like great players. At some point, it just needs a restart and go somewhere else. I think that's exactly what Mike Tomlin has decided, and he'll be great wherever he goes. And, man, what a career. Like, I think, don't miss it, right? This is an insanely good football coach, an insanely good man in Pittsburgh, just done a heck of a job. Always respect the way that he's handled himself, but I think it's good for the organization and good for Mike Tomlin.
All right, look, Graziano, there are so many ways to unpack this, because now you have another NFL vacancy open. You have a top-flight historic franchise, And now you've got Mike Tomlin that's out there that may want to go somewhere else. So let's unpack it first from the Mike Tomlin perspective. He would seemingly have to be at the top of everyone's list along with John Harbaugh, correct?
Yes. There's obviously by far the two most accomplished head coaches on the market at the moment. John Harbaugh let go by Baltimore last week after 18 years. Mike Tomlin stepping away today after 19, both Super Bowl champions, both widely respected program builder types. If teams are looking for experience at head coach, obviously those are the top two candidates. Assuming Mike Tomlin wants to jump into another head coaching job. It may be that he wants to take the year and step away for a while, a la, Sean Payton, who did that after leaving New Orleans and ended up in Denver. There's been a lot of chatter about potential interest from television networks in having Mike Tomlin on their air, and I'm sure that he'll hear a lot of those offers as well. So obviously, this is fresh information, fresh news. Mike Tomlin is going to take time to figure out what he wants to do next. But if he wants to continue to be a head coach in the NFL, yes, Matt, I believe he will have ample choices and opportunity to do so.
And part two of this Saturday, I want to come to you about this because history dictates that the Steelers do not miss when they hire a head coach. They just don't. And so now for the first time in the better part of 2 decades, they have to make another franchise-altering decision. What kind of coach fits the Pittsburgh Steelers?
Man, I think, listen, the way that the roster is constructed at this point, you got a lot of areas you're going to have to address, right? And it's so whether that's offense, defense, I don't think there's going to be one particular. You don't got to go find an offensive guru. Who's your quarterback? I mean, right? Like Will Howard is the guy. Mason Rudolph. Who knows what they're going to end up going to do? They haven't been great at running the football. Their defense wasn't what people expected for them. So I think any and all comers will be evaluated by the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't think they're going to have to go one direction or the other. They're going to find the best fit for them. Here's the great part about the Steelers. If you're a head coach and you're going there, you're going to get time to turn this around. They don't make snap judgments. They don't make quick decisions. They will ride with you for a length of period to give you, or a length of time to get you right. So I think it'll be a very comfortable transition for whatever coach comes in there and steps in and tries to transition. They know this is not a finished product that walked off the field last night. Make no mistake, there's a lot of work to be done in Pittsburgh.
And to that point, Jeff, to the extent that you can say this about a team that's only had 3 coaches since 1969, they do have a type. Mike Tomlin was 34 when they hired him. His predecessor, Bill Cowher, was 34 when they hired him. His predecessor, Chuck Noll, was 38. The Steelers are looking for a young future star at head coach that they believe can be there, 15, 20 years and help build and maintain a program.
And look, and Saturday, you brought it up a second ago. This is one of those situations now you had a veteran coach. They appeared to think that they were a quarterback away from going on a run in the playoffs, and that just did not manifest itself with Aaron Rodgers. And so you would think with this move with Mike Tomlin, this could kind of open the floodgate for a reset from coach to roster and everything in between now that the age of this franchise, the leader of that, is gone.
Yeah, listen, I fully agree. And when you think about it, when it was Cowher going on to Mike Tomlin, Ben Roethlisberger, there were pieces and parts, right? This is going to be a much more difficult step in. But what Mike Tomlin did to even get this team to the playoffs was dang near miraculous, right? But they put a ton of money in this defense that really didn't show up in the way they expected. Like I said before, they had a true identity that was physical, it was bruising, it was all those things. In the past few years, that hasn't been them. They're going to have to find a way to get that back, and that's going to be a reset, in all honesty. There's a lot of players that are aging on that defensive side. I think they'll move on from some of them. To your point, Matt, to get this thing kind of reset and restarted again. Without a quarterback in the NFL, you got a long road ahead of you, and right now that's kind of where they sit.
Again, the breaking news here on SportsCenter: Mike Tomlin, after 19 seasons, stepping down as Pittsburgh Steelers head coach. Or Adam Schefter had the news moments ago. Let's play this game for a second, Gross, because these are 2 top-flight jobs within the same division. If you're a head coach now and you're looking at both of these, which do you believe is more attractive? That of the Ravens, they've got their franchise quarterback in place, or an organization like, and look, hey, and let's be fair, the Ravens are very stable as well. So these are 2 top-flight, stable jobs in the NFL.
Matt, I don't think it's close. It's Baltimore because they do have the quarterback in place. In Pittsburgh, you're going to have to answer that question of who is the quarterback. In Pittsburgh, you have the reason one of the reasons Mike Tomlin's no longer there, obviously it seems like it's his choice, is they keep barely getting to the playoffs, possibly because of how good a coach Mike Tomlin is. So you're stepping into a situation where the team might not be ready to win, whereas in Baltimore, you have a team that has made some playoff runs the last few years and has the two-time MVP at quarterback.
Yeah.
Saturday, you agree?
100%. I'm 100%. Listen, if you are going to walk in and expect or have high expectations, Baltimore is the place to be. They are much better suited at this point to make things happen than where Pittsburgh is. Again, and I think Dan said it in kind of like in a bit of a sarcastic way, but all truth, and I know he means it. If it weren't for Mike Tomlin, this team isn't making the playoffs.
That's right.
Just be real. Like Mike Tomlin had he has a direct impact on this team making the playoffs. So yeah, anybody walking in this job other than Mike Tomlin understands, brother. We're looking up. We got some mountains to climb in this building, and unfortunately, that's going to require letting go of a lot of players that have been there for some time.
Yeah.
I used to say this all the time: when coaches get fired or decide to step down, players get fired because there's going to be a new idea of what they need to win, and this is the first time Pittsburgh's had that in 2 decades. That's pretty wild.
And you brought it up. The three coaches,
I was not being sarcastic,
Cowher,
Jeff Saturday.
It's hard to tell.
Or rarity.
You'll know it when I'm being sarcastic.
You've got Cowher, you got Mike Tomlin. All three of you have to have a tough jaw to work in Pittsburgh, and we'll see what they do. Again, the breaking news: Mike Tomlin out. The man who broke that news standing by with Custer.
All right, thank you, Matt. Yes, let's go to the guy, of course, who made the breaking news. That is our very own Adam Schefter. Again, Mike Tomlin walking away from the job that he's held there in Pittsburgh for 19 seasons. Okay, Schefty, talk to everybody about how this played out today. Mike Tomlin walking away. Was this mutual? Was this Mike Tomlin's decision? Was this the Steelers saying, okay, let's part ways?
Brian, this is a Mike Tomlin decision, and this clearly is something that has been on his mind for quite some time. There were people I've spoken with who were with him over the summer who sensed that it was going to be his last season. It built up. You don't lose the game last night, call a team meeting for 2 o'clock to inform your team that you're stepping down as the Steelers head coach without being fully convicted on this. This is a historic day for the Pittsburgh Steelers, for Mike Tomlin, the longest tenured head coach in the National Football League. And this is something that he clearly had been thinking about and had come to the decision to make today or as soon as the Steelers season ended, which just happened to be last night. We heard the Fire Tomlin chants earlier in the season from Steelers fans. We heard them again last night after they lost to the Houston Texans, and this has been an offseason of change. Mike Tomlin is essentially coveted everywhere, except in the city where he was working for 19 years. And the Pittsburgh Steelers don't have very many head coaching changes. They are about to embark on a search for their 4th head coach since 1969. That's routine for some teams to do in a couple of years. And the Pittsburgh Steelers now will be going on their 4th head coach since 1969. I think it was everything. I think it was the time there in Pittsburgh. I think it was Mike Tomlin wanting his life back, wanting to try something different, wanting to get away. If you watched him during the season, he looked tired. He looked worn out. And obviously, all that work had taken a toll on him to the point where at 2 o'clock today, he gathered his team together and he informed his players that he was stepping down as the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers, effective immediately. And that sends ripples across the National Football League for so many reasons. Like we said, the Pittsburgh Steelers now have a head coaching opening. There are nine current head coach openings right now, including 3 in the AFC North. The only returning coach in the AFC North right now is Zach Taylor in Cincinnati. Andy Reid just became the longest tenured head coach in the National Football League, with the Ravens firing John Harbaugh and Mike Tomlin stepping aside. And that's the key distinction here. He stepped down. The Steelers retain his rights. Should he decide to return to coaching another time, then if there were another team that wanted to hire him, they would have to compensate the Pittsburgh Steelers the way the Denver Broncos had to compensate the New Orleans Saints for Sean Payton. But you're talking about a coaching legend. You're talking about coaching royalty. You're talking about a man who coached in that city for 19 seasons, never had a losing season. And yes, there were playoff struggles, there were one and dones, but nobody can argue the impact and imprint that Mike Tomlin made on the Pittsburgh Steelers and the National Football League, and that run today, historically, has come to an end.
And again, that is our breaking news here in the Sports Center. Of course, Adam Schefter is the man who helped break this, along with Jeremy Fowler. Mike Tomlin stepping away as head coach of the Steelers. 193 career victories, 8 playoff wins, 1 Super Bowl victory. It begs the question, in your reporting there, Adam, do you get a sense that Mike Tomlin wants to step away? There have been rumors about maybe a TV job, or does he want to continue coaching?
Mm-hmm. Look, we'll hear from Mike Tomlin at some point in time, but my sense is that he's going to go into television, that there'll be any number of opportunities that await him. Now, he could decide to do TV, which is what Sean Payton did during the year that he was out. It keeps people involved in the game without having to work coaches' hours, or he simply could just take the year off. That's something that's also entirely possible. His children have grown. They're out of the house. He has nothing that ties him to Pittsburgh. He has earned the right to get to do what he wants to do at this point in time, whether that's take a year off before he comes back to coaching, whether that's to go into television and move forward in a career in TV, moving forward into the years to come. This is all new. This is something that obviously just happened a short time ago when he informed the team. Mike Tomlin is going to be desired in any number of places. He could have a coaching job tomorrow if that's what he wanted. I don't sense that that's what he's going to want at this particular time. It sounds like he's going to want some time to decompress after a long, hard 19-year run that included a Super Bowl title in Pittsburgh, and he'll have time to think about what he wants to do next and with the rest of his life.
And obviously, this is a story that's just been breaking here over the past hour here, Adam. But it begs the question, since you made the point, the Steelers have only had 3 coaches since 1969. And when they made those hires, they were all young guys. So are we talking about now the Pittsburgh Steelers looking for a young head coach here going forward?
I will say this, that I'm not sure the Pittsburgh Steelers have had any idea that this was going to come. There were people in that organization that when we spoke to them today with the news, Jeremy Fowler and I had no idea it was coming. No idea it was coming. So this caught a lot of people by surprise. On the one hand, you would think that people kind of expected it and maybe they knew it could happen, but it's a little bit like John Harbaugh in Baltimore. You hear that it could happen. There has been any number of questions about it. There's been speculation about it. But when it finally actually happens, it's sudden, abrupt, and jarring. And today, the Steelers organization was hit with the jarring news that the man who had coached them and led them for 19 years is leaving the organization, stepping down. So when you're asking what they're doing next, frankly, I don't know that they know what they're doing next. We can look at the body of coaches being interviewed across the league. We can look at what the Steelers' history has been and the type of coach that they've profiled. We expect it to be tough, fiery, competitive. It's a great job. It's a job that doesn't turn over very often. But the Pittsburgh Steelers did not know that they would be looking for a head coach until a short time ago today when Mike Tomlin informed Art Rooney and then the team that he was stepping down as the head coach of the Steelers, a job that he's had for the last 19 years.
You made the point that there are now 9 head coaching opportunities open right now in the National Football League. So when you look at it, a couple of them are cornerstones of this league. The Pittsburgh Steelers job is open. The New York Football Giants job is open. What is the marquee job now? Is it Pittsburgh? Does that go up to be number 1 on the list?
You didn't mention the Baltimore Ravens either,
yes,
which I think people have viewed as the most desirable job. Look, there are 9 openings, and I will say, we don't know that we're done just yet. It might not be over. It could be. Hopefully it is, but it might not be over just yet. There still could be more changes because we're in a time now where owners see what other owners do. And once one of these goes down, it makes it a little bit easier for an owner who's on the fence to make up his own mind and make the decision. Now, this was a different situation today. This was a case where Mike Tomlin just had enough of coaching. Again, the fans sounded their disapproval, their displeasure about the way this team performed in recent weeks at home. Mike Tomlin heard that. You can't be immune to not hearing that. But this is a case where he stepped aside. Of the 9 current openings, he's the only one that voluntarily walked away from the job. The other 8 coaches were fired. They were let go. This is a different circumstance surrounding Mike Tomlin. And really, his accomplishments and everything that he did and the mark he made should be celebrated with everything that he's done. You look at the winning percentage of the Steelers there. You look at what he's done during his time in Pittsburgh. You look at all the accomplishments, 19 seasons, never had a losing season, 193, 114-2 in the regular season, Super Bowl champion. He essentially took the baton from Bill Cowher, the Pittsburgh Steelers head coach, and advanced it and took this franchise to a place that it had been in. He kept it there. And again, despite the fact that there were fans in Pittsburgh who wanted him out, nobody could deny the mark that he made on that franchise and the National Football League. He is synonymous with that team. He is the face of that franchise. And the face of that franchise has now left that team. Change is coming to Pittsburgh. Change is coming to Baltimore. Change is coming to Cleveland. Change is coming to the National Football League. We are in a historic time with 9 openings and some changes with teams that don't ordinarily have them.
Yeah, especially in the AFC North, who basically got 3 teams looking for a new head coach. So this is a really fascinating story. Again, our Adam Schefter is the man who came up with the breaking news. Mike Tomlin stepping away as head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Adam, appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Within the